It's another fantastic day at Crypto Cove. Hello to everyone joining this call live. Hello, everyone. And to everyone watching this on YouTube, hello to you too. Now, today we're going to talk about a problem that I've seen in the community quite a bit. And before we go into that, I have a bit of a challenge for the folks watching this live. And for those of you watching on the recording, you'll probably see exactly what I'm talking about from the title. But the challenge for the folks here live is that I'm going to show you two separate pictures for about 5 seconds each. And your challenge is to find the differences between those pictures, more specifically in the area that I have circled. So with that, I'll go ahead and share my screen. Five, four, three, two, one. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right, how'd you guys do?
Well, I guess we'll find out. The end of the number, the first one was the third from the end was a 2, and the second time through it was a 6. That's what I picked. So the numbers didn't match at the tail end.
And would you say that you might not catch that if you were trying to hurry to get your payments done or anything of the sort?
Absolutely.
Yeah. What if I told you that those two addresses were indeed completely different, and one of those addresses was actually created by a scammer to take advantage of people trying to hurry who might not see what they're doing?
Wow.
Yep. And let me show you what those two addresses look like when you see the whole address. So I'll go ahead and share my screen again. And here they are. Let me make them just a bit bigger for you all, assuming that won't cause any clipping. All right. Now, I'll be quiet for a second while you all study those addresses, and then from there we can talk about the differences between those two.
Well, I thought I had seen 2 different numbers, but it turns out that they did end. The last number would be 6 before the DI, but then the capitalization versus lowercase, that's a big, is that a different number if it's capitalized? It would be a different address, wouldn't it?
Now, most of the time, it comes out to be exactly the same. Addresses just aren't case sensitive. So that's not an indicator, but one thing I want to direct you all's attention on is the middle of the address. In both cases here, we can see that the middle of the address looks completely different now, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, but MetaMask nor pretty much any other wallet is going to show you the middle of the wallet's address when it's trying to truncate that in order to get the wallet address to fit in that spot where it's showing you the transaction overview. And that's what scammers bank on in order to try and either confuse you or to get you to send money to their address that they control. And I actually have a fine example of that in my wallet. Now, about 19, 20 days ago, I sent 200 USDT to a Binance wallet that a friend has. You can see the 200 USDT going out there. I'm in the USDT filter. Now, not a few minutes later, I got several transactions for just amounts of USDT. Like we can see that 0.0002 USDT from an address that looks very similar to the one I sent it to on first glance. Wouldn't you say?
Yeah, it's very similar.
That's right. And in this case, these were actually two different addresses that were crafted for that purpose to look very similar to the one that I sent you. Now, this may seem a bit obvious, but if I were to send USDT to either one of these addresses when I meant to send it to this address, then my USDT would actually go to the scammer and not to my friend's Binance account. Because those are entirely separate addresses, and my friend has no control over these addresses whatsoever. Make sense so far?
So far.
Yep. And unfortunately, I've seen this happen quite a bit because most of the time you're not actually going to be looking at wallet addresses that closely. So this can be an easy mistake to make. And unfortunately, I've seen it get to the point where hundreds of USDT have been lost between sponsors and referrals in pool funding because someone wasn't paying all that much attention to the address, or they didn't have something set up to where they knew what they were seeing was the real address that they were meaning to send to. So with that in mind, that does definitely sound like a major problem, doesn't it?
Yeah, very much so. So how does a scammer create, a fake link like that, a fake address? I mean,
It's it's not fake. That address is
well, okay,
entirely legitimate. What they do is they create several addresses, usually by using bots, and stop when they get one that's similar or in some cases very similar to the one that they're trying to look like. So with that in mind, we've identified the problem. So what are we going to do about it? Well, the first thing we can do, and definitely a good fallback for you when all else fails, is to double check that the wallet address you're sending to is in fact the one that you're meaning to send to. And the way you would do that is you would ideally get in contact with the person you're wanting to send it to. Like, for example, can I get someone to volunteer to send their wallet address over to my Telegram?
I'll do that for you.
Alrighty.
I just got to log in here.
Alrighty. Thank you, Joe. Now, what I can do and everyone please open up the chat if you want to double check that Joe has sent his wallet address there. And what I can do with that is I can either just take it from there and do the transaction, or I can put somewhere and save it, say in a notepad document or a Word document or what have you. So I can refer back to it later. And whenever I'm sending USDT to Joe, I can go back to where I have his wallet address and just copy it from there. So that way I don't have to trust entries on BSC scan when I'm trying to hurry or something else is going on. So let me go ahead and copy his address and put it in here. And then I can show you all what that looks like. All right, so here's Joe's wallet address. So I can go ahead and double click it to copy it. I have it copied. So now I'm going to go over to MetaMask. And then I can go to the token I'm wanting to send to him. Then I'll click the send button. And then I'll paste his wallet address in. And I know for a fact that this wallet address is Joe's wallet address because I just got from him. We just talked, and I know that it was him saying it to me when I got it from him in the first place. But if I want to double check, I can take a look at, of course, the first and last here. But let me say input 10, and then I can continue. And then from there, I can take a look at the full address. Now, this isn't going to show me the full address here when I click on the address field, but it is going to show me more of the middle portion of the address. So I can go back and take a look at what it looks like where I have his address. So I can go back to my document and yep, that looks correct. So from then on, I could go ahead and confirm because I know that's his address. So that's definitely the first thing you can do, and that will help you even when anything else fails, is to just pay more attention to the address and copy it down for anyone in your upline or downline. So that way you know where your USDT is going. And that also helps when you
But I always thought those Dusty couples posts, and my friend and I used to predict how.
and that also helps when you have a team in your upline and downline because the way pool playing has changed as of the last few weeks is that if your sponsor goes inactive for whatever reason, that your payment is going to go up to whoever the next qualified person in your upline is. So it's useful for you to have those addresses anyway, because that way you'll know where the heck did my money go when your sponsor goes inactive for whatever reason. So that way, if you're involved in some sort of payback program with them, or if you're involved in one of the giveaway programs, you can reach out to them and they can send you your USDT back. And it can just go smooth as silk that way. You don't have to go running around wondering, hey, where did my money go? Because you'll know exactly where it went.
Hmm.
All right, so that's the first thing you can do. And the second thing you can do, so I'll go ahead and start my screen share again. We'll go back to our earlier transaction, and we're going to click on the to address field again. Now, what MetaMask will allow you to do is it will allow you to save addresses that you transact with a lot with a nickname. So, for example, we can see that I clicked on Joe's address here in the confirmation screen. So what I can do then is I can input a nickname for this address. So I'll just put in Joe. and then I'll click save. So there we go. And now I know that I'm sending to the right address because I knew that I had Joe's address right the first time when I put in his address here and saved him as a contact. Now you can do that from the transaction review screen. And another way you can do that is actually going into MetaMask settings. So we'll go ahead and click on the three lines up here in the top right of MetaMask. Then we'll go to settings. And then we'll go to contacts. And we can see that I have Joe saved as a contact here. And can I get someone to volunteer to, well, someone else rather, to volunteer to send me their address so I can demonstrate that too? All right, and then I'll go ahead and pull one of mine up that I haven't used in a while. Let's check here. All right, so I'll go ahead and start my screen share again now that I have the address I wanted to use. So we're back over in MetaMask in the settings menu. So I'll go ahead and go to contacts again, and then I'll click add contact. Then I can paste in the wallet address that I want to add as a contact. In this case, this is one of the wallet addresses that I use in my Exodus wallet. So I can put in whatever I want as the nickname, but I'll just put Exo or Exodus. And then I'll click the save button. And there we go. Then I've added my Exodus wallet as a contact. And now I can go back to the main wallet interface and click the send button. And from here, what I can do is I can click on the contacts tab. And then from there, I can select the contact that I want to send to. In this case, the Exo wallet. And I can switch the token I want to send over. And when you have a contact selected, it will also show you the address, or at least part of the address below the contact's name here. So that way you can double check if you want to really be sure. We'll hit continue. And then we'll click on the contact name. And the middle looks correct to me. So we can go ahead and exit out there. And then you can go ahead and confirm the transaction, and it'll work just exactly like any other transaction. All right, so that just about covers it. Of course, the most important thing is that number one, you pay more attention to what you're doing in the first place. But number two, there's also the contact system from within MetaMask that you can use. And if you use any other Web3 wallets like Trust Wallet or SafePal, they also have a similar system to that you can use. So with that, are there any questions?
Well, I'll definitely, create the contacts for sure. And, I think it's prudent to pay more attention, and not be in a hurry to do the sending. I did have one question. One day I purchased USDT for my MetaMask wallet, but it was under Tether and not Binance. So I was wondering, how do I swap that over from the Binance on my MetaMask wallet over to the BNB? Or oh, it was Ethereum. I think it was Ethereum that I got. That's it. I'm sorry. So I purchased the wrong group of USDT, and I was wondering, it's on my wallet. How would I go ahead and move that into my other Binance wallet?
So for that, you would want to, first of all, do you have any Ethereum on hand at this point in that MetaMask wallet as well?
I'm not 100% sure. I haven't moved that money yet, as far as I can remember.
So if you have a bit of Ethereum in that wallet, then what you can do is you can actually use, say, either Simple Swap or Bits floats, depending on your jurisdiction. And you can actually do a swap of USDT on the Ethereum chain to USDT on the Binance Smart Chain. But if you don't have any Ethereum on there, what you can do is you can use a tool called Small Refuel to do a gasless swap for all of your USDT that you have on the Ethereum chain over to just Ethereum. And then you can swap that Ethereum over to USDT on the Binance Smart Chain using Simple Swap. And I have a couple videos on that on my channel, so you can absolutely take a look at those. And if you still run into any problems, you can reach out to me and I can
Okay.
help walk you through it.
Okay. So what was that tool? Small
Small refuel,
refuel. Okay.
I'll go ahead and put it in the chat for you in a sec.
Yeah. Okay.
And I'll also send this over to our chat and Telegram together.
Cool.
And that mainly you would want to do that if you don't have, say, like $5 or so worth of Ethereum already in your wallet. But if you do, then you can just move on to using Simple Swap to swap your USDT that you have on the Ethereum chain to USDT on the Binance Smart Chain.
Yeah. Okay.
But if you don't, then you'll want to use Small Refuel to swap it all to Ethereum first, and then from there, swap Ethereum over to the correct USDT.
Okay. Great. Appreciate it.
No problem. Are there any further questions? Well, doesn't look like it. Am I doing a great job here? I feel like Ace at this one. I'm doing such a great job that no one ever has any questions.
Oh, this has been really good information, especially for me, because I'm relatively new to crypto. And so any tips and tricks are greatly appreciated. So I'm really glad that I came onto the call today. Been very basic information, but extremely important. Absolutely essential to make sure that the address that you're sending to is actually the one that you want it to go to. So double checking, triple checking. Good idea.
Yep. And that's something I definitely cannot state enough, to double check and triple check what you're doing when you're involved in crypto. Because we can make it as easy as we'd like, but bottom line is that when you're involved in crypto, you are essentially becoming your own bank. Now, we don't use terms like that in the crypto space lightly, because when you become your own bank, that also comes with the responsibility of being your own bank. Now, some of you might have found out the hard way in crypto. There's no oops button, there's no reversal or anything of that sort. So the bottom line is you definitely have to double check what you're doing and make sure that you're doing everything correctly when you're trying to do something. Otherwise, it just won't work correctly. And and I know that may seem obvious to some people listening to me right now, but that is a very common issue that a lot of people new to crypto run into because they either don't pay attention or they don't learn something they need to learn before they make a transaction, or they make any sort of mistake that could end up being catastrophic for them. Like in the case of with the several hundreds of USDT that have been lost just in the pool playing community alone for people that have accidentally fallen for this. Like I know one person, for example, that's lost out on 900 USDT worth because of this. So the more we can do to help people and the more we can do to help them learn, it's will absolutely help the community as a whole and cryptocurrency as a whole.
Yeah, well, thank you very much, Hunter.
All right. And I'm going to go ahead and step off of my soapbox before I start to jumble stuff up. All right. Are there any further questions before I close out here? All right. I'll go ahead and stop the recording.